The primary topics I will talk about is, first of all, the ABAP debugger. You all of them know it. In the workbench and also in the ABAP development tools, it's also known as ABAP in Eclipse. And if we've got enough time, we will have a look at the profiling. In the ABAP workbench and at ADT. But first of all, that you've got an idea what it's all about, because its name is Test and Troubleshooting. It's about the topics at the SAP TechEd at 2010 in Berlin and 2012 in Madrid. First of all, if you implement your code, you have to test it, and I recommend you to use ABAP Unit if possible. If your components are testable, it's not that much effort to implement those ABAP Unit tests. You can rerun the tests if you do any changes, and so you can avoid debugging and you can avoid ABAP debugging. And because the debugging time, you can count it as development time. It's very time consuming and it's very expensive, especially if you've got an issue in your product system. It's much easier and cheaper to fix it already in the development stage. The second step is use the extended program check, the SLIN, or you can use the right mouse click on your artifact and execute the program check. Because you can here do a lot more checks, like security issues. You can check performance issues and also programming guidelines. There's another recommendation. If you're an ABAP developer, who of you are ABAP developers? Yeah. Yes. I expected the 80%, but it seems it's the half of the audience. I really recommend your book. It's called, in German, ABAP Programmierrichtlinien, in English, Official SAP ABAP Programming Guidelines. It's released by SAP Press, sponsor of today. And every ABAP developer should have this book on his table, because the ABAP Programming Guidelines, the official ABAP programming guidelines, can be checked here. They are delivered by SAP in standard. And the second step might be that you use the code inspector. The code inspector combines the extended program checks. In addition, more performance and more deeper syntax checking is possible. And he also executes all dynamic tests. This is a static test, a static code review, and this is a dynamic test. And the code inspector, best way, you integrate it with your transport system and the AS ABAP. Then every transport request is running through all the tests, and code inspector are defined, and you can be sure when you deliver your artifacts, your programs, reports, function groups, or anything else into the QAS system, you get the most reliability that it will work. The last one is the ABAP Test Cockpit. The ABAP Test Cockpit is on top of those three. It combines them by adding the continuous integration thought. You can plan jobs in background, they're running every night, and every project is being checked. You can do it for single projects, you can do it in mass for the whole system if test cases are defined. And you can implement ABAP Test Cockpit in your company by assigning a quality manager. You need someone who has a look at the transactions, and if there are findings, there are possible null pointer exceptions in your coding. He has to approve it. There are findings. This finding must be approved that the transport request is allowed to go into the next stage. Yes, but today we will talk about the ABAP debugger. We'll have a look if we have got enough time. And I will start with some easy exercises everybody should know. And first of all, we go into the workbench in the SE80. And it takes a while. Here we are. So I'm the user developer. And first of all, we go into the preferences and ABAP editor debugging, and I really recommend you to use the new debugger. It's it's old. It's 3 years old or 5 years, I don't know. And the first step is to activate session breakpoints active immediately. And here are some additional configurations about external breakpoints. We will have a look at this later. And first of all, I have to open a second mode. And we've got a report. It's a simple report. Don't look at the coding. It's really simple. It's an endless loop, and I just want to show you the immediate active session breakpoint. And if we have a look at the other one, it's running and running, and we don't know why. And so therefore, we have set the sessions breakpoint active immediately. So we just have to click here and wait a second, and therefore it is active at once. The running application in my SAP GUI opens the ABAP debugger. And I think all of you have seen this screen before. The one more, the one less. And first of all, you see that I have some other names on the tabs here. You can configure this with renaming. I hope you get the point from German descriptions to English, I think. Yes, okay. So you can define anything else. That's just a nice feature. That's not important. More important is the saving of debugger sessions. If you've got complex applications, you set a lot of breakpoints, conditional breakpoints, you set watch points and anything else. And it's evening, it's 8 o'clock and I'm tired and I have to continue tomorrow. And tomorrow I will not remember all the breakpoints I've set the evening before. So you can save it and you can load it at the next day, and everything is in the state you have left it. So you can everywhere. You can these are tools, and you can change them anywhere. You can remove them. You can add them. I don't know. Okay, and after all, you have to save the layout, so the next time you log in, you've got the same layout again. And of course, as you all know, you can double-click and everything. You can have a look at the internal tables or at the structures, and everything. I think everybody knows that you can change the content of tables or variables, and every tool got its own services. And you can download the internal tables in a file, XML or a CSV. You can also reload them. If you've got a debugging issue in your productive system, you download the internal table and you can import it into your development system or anything else if you've got a use case for that. Okay. Then, there are lots of breakpoints you can set. First of all, there are 3 types of breakpoints. We've got the session breakpoint. It's only valid for the time I'm logged on the system. There are external breakpoints. We have seen the configuration before. You can set the external breakpoint for the user. You can set external breakpoint for a transaction ID. That's new. That came with EHP2 for NetWeaver 7.0. And you can assign a breakpoint to a transaction ID. So if you do not know who is using this function, he has to assign his request to a TID, and it's in the handout how it works. And the pop-up, the debugger will pop up at the SAP GUI where the breakpoint is assigned to a TID. We will do that later. So there are lots of debugger local breakpoints you can set. You can assign it to a ABAP command, maybe append or anything else. And Also WebDimpro, at runtime, if the WebDimpro component is executed, the breakpoint is being released and the debugger will start. Most important is you can set a breakpoint at message for a special number. Often you see down in the status bar a message, and then you can put the ID and the number and the type, and the breakpoint will start if this message is being displayed. And here is some nice thing. If you got exceptions being raised by your application, if you type here your exception, then you go into the try and catch block where this exception is fired. So first of all, we've got here a condition. We have to set it ABAP true, and then the debugger will end. So, if any variables or anything else is being changed during debugging, in SM21 is you can find an entry. This is an ABAP 740. This is the new SM21. You can double click. It's a bit newer, and you can see also the changed value of this variable. So you can see the result list. Oh, I've forgotten something nice. So let's try it again and test it. Execute. There are some more. Here you find the ABAP stack. We will see later in Eclipse, it's quite similar, and you can navigate through a stack. I've got configured that all the variables should be displayed here, and now I try to change a tool by using another one. It's I don't know the English word, it's the report output preview. And if you've got a report who has a simple write statement like here, and you're searching for the statement which prints anything strange on the output list to the spool, then you can use the debugger here, and you see it's only the business partner ID being printed. But you can see the idea. If you've got a report, use this tooling to debug it. So we have to edit the resolution. We had to change it that it's more practical for the display. So F8. So good. Habe ich was vergessen? Oh. Okay. So. Next, we've got a report with all commands in one line. The ABAP debugger thinks that every line is one command. Oh, we should have set a breakpoint before. And if I press F5, then he will not step into the loop and here's the select statement, here is an if, here's the loop, add table, anything else, and we will retry it. And what you can do is to adapt the step size of the debugger. If you press here, then the step size is being changed on part condition or statement. And you see that the select statement is being marked, and with F5 I can step through all of the single statements. It also works with complex if and else statements. If you got if and A and B and C, and if return parameter result of a method call, you can debug it step by step, and anything else is being interpreted as one command in one line. So Here's another example. I do not know if everybody of you know ABAP to XSLX. It's an open source project for creating XSLX files and vice versa from ABAP to XSLX and vice versa. And you can find it on this sap.assembler.com, and I will provide all these reports and everything on the wiki page, and I really recommend you to have a look at it, because it's a very simple way to create Excel sheets, and very powerful Excel sheets. Also calendars, like Gregor every year creates one. And now we try this one, and unfortunately there is a dump, and of course you can start the debugger out of the dump, and we have a look here. Okay. There is a method call on an instance. It's called LOExcel, and the instance is initial. And if we might have used... Oh, okay. Ich dachte auch... Who has invented those tones? The sounds. Yeah, no. They must.
Who invented the tones of the subway?
He's not present anymore.
And that's what I talked about before. This is a dump. Maybe you've got this dump in your productive system, and it's very expensive to resolve this issue. And if the developer might have used, or the system might have done it automatically, that's the better way, the ABAP test cockpit. He might have seen that there is a finding, and the finding is that the reference LOExcel is not being written, and this is an indicator for a possible null pointer exception. And that's why I talked about ABAP test cockpit. It's standard in every system. You can put right mouse click, say check, and you can here do the basic syntax check. You can start the ABAP test cockpit. You can also do the extended program check and run the code expected directly. But everything is being implemented, everything what is implemented automatically in the system to execute. The developer has not to care. Brings more stability and more easier to usage. I don't know, easy to use. Ease of use, yes, thank you. So, another one, I talked about external breakpoints. The time is flying by. Talked about external breakpoints, and so, Twitter. I'm logging on as DDIC. The user who is very powerful. And I'm starting the workbench. And I will call this report 4, and what this report does is only call a simple function. And here you can see I'm logged in as developer, and I set a breakpoint, but I go onto debugging, and I say user is DDIC for the external breakpoint. I talked before, there are 3 types, and external breakpoints are one of them. And you can now right click and set external breakpoint. And now I am developer. Where is it? DDIC, yes, here is it. And I will start the report. And the debugger in my session developer appears. It's a nice feature if you're, especially CRM, we had that issue last week in our company, and the CRM system made an update to a business partner, and this was the only way to find, yes, we're the middleware, yes. But the restriction is the user you assign this external breakpoint has to be a dialog user. That's the only thing about it. So, that's all. So, perfect. So first of all, DDIC, I will log out to prevent my system. to print my system being faulty. Yes, the next one. We've got a standard transaction and we've got a pop-up and we do not know what is being called when I click OK. So pop-ups can also be debugged. One moment. We have to set a link and we say pop-up debugging. And we do not say type transaction, we say system command, and we say system command is /h. And we set it on desktop, yes, that's okay, and okay, good. So, a bit smaller, and so we've got, I've tried it yesterday, and this one will open the pop-up. It works with all pop-ups, and you just drag and drop it onto the title bar. And then you press command, the OK code, okay, and then the debugger appears. Okay. Oh, the colleague told us that you do not need especially the title bar, but everybody got the idea, everybody. It's very simple and sometimes you can need it. So, another nice feature in the new ABAP debugger, I don't like the new ABAP debugger because it's 3 or 4 years old. It's the ABAP debugger, and if I press double click, you can imagine you've got some modifications or some enhancements, and you do not know where exactly something on the DIMPRO is being changed, which customer-specific modules or components are being called during the execution of this SAP standard transaction. And therefore, there is another feature. It's, in my opinion, the most valuable feature in the ABAP debugger. I press double click after activating the debugger, and I use software layer aware debugging, SLAD, and I can tailor my application into layers. It's all about, and then I say, okay, I'm interested in all classes which start with set. I can also do it with packages. I can say every set and Y package stop at every object you touch during the execution, and the debugger only displays me the places I have which fit to this pattern. So here we are. This is a customer-specific enhancement implementation called during execution of transaction BP, and so here we are, and I can find those places more efficient. It's a very convenient way to debug, because we do not want to debug the whole SAP standard. We want to see our own modifications we did to the system, and that's a very valuable functionality. And here you can say, can see ABAP DIMPRO and stack, and you can get all the places where the methods are called, and yes. Good. Oh, let's have a look at this class. I told you something about ABAP unit, and I will show it. There's a nice feature, and this one has a local class, and it's a testing class. And this is ABAP unit. You have a class, and you put a local class into it, which is defined for testing. And this one is only executed if I run the ABAP unit checks, and it's only possible to execute them in the development stage or in QAS in the test system. Do not use that, restrict it in the productive system. And I can say with coverage, so not only the dynamic tests are being executed, also the code is being measured if everything is tested. And we can see, first of all, everything is green, all tests worked. It implies that all tests are correctly implemented. If my tests are wrong, then the result cannot be correct. So this one is the procedure coverage, and we've got only one procedure. It's a method, and we see that we've got one executed, and there's only one, so we've got 100% procedure coverage, and the statement coverage we also achieved 100%, and so there is another example on layer-aware debugging. There is in every AS ABAP is demos car rental. It's written by Horst Keller, as I know, and this is not that complex application, but I will show you another feature. You can generate UML class diagrams, and we just have to restrict that not everything should be printed because the model could be quite large. I only want to show you which classes are in which package, because this is a structural package with sub-packages, and in this application I want to restrict my debugging activity to one dedicated package. And does this feature know everybody? And it's since 7.02. It must be in every single AS ABAP by default. But you have to activate the JNet Gantt component with your sub GUI installation. Maybe your basis guys do not roll out your sub GUI installation by activating JNet Gantt as default. You will receive an exception. This is a Java applet. And you can see there are some classes and interfaces, and this one is the package. I don't know if you can read it. This is the package name, and here are the classes. And if you want to restrict your debugging activity, you can use layer-aware debugging. I have showed it before. I think that's okay. And the next one, if we still remain in the workbench, is that we do some profiling on our code, and you can use the transaction SAT. It's also released with NetWeaver 7.02, and it also helps you to reverse engineer the existing code. It's primary, you measure the times, the performance of your application, but you can also analyze the program flow. And for program flow analysis, you mustn't aggregate. You can read it in the handout. It's and there are more links in it. With every features and what you can do with it. And I say, okay, I want to measure the methods and function modules and subprograms and anything, and all other things are not being measured. And I've got a report. It's only a simple report for the car rental demo, and it's being executed in background but controlled by SAT. It measures everything, and you can see here a hit list, lots of database tables, and you can also see which classes are being involved, which function groups, and you can also see the packages. The packages, you see SAP ABAP Demos and the SAP ABAP Demos car rental. Have a look at this. If you go back to your office next week, just look in here. There are some nice examples, and here you can see all the packages, the hierarchy. Perfect. That's another. I do not use this this tool often, but you can restrict if you're measuring performance. You can look for only those classes and methods who are critical, and can every time jump into that class. I told you about reverse engineering, and if I've got a new code, I have to have a look, how does it work, which components are being used, and this tool helps you. You can also generate a sequence diagram. It's the same methodology like the UML class diagram generating. It's also standard SAT. Every ABAP with 702 has it delivered. And you can here see how the components and the classes interact with each other. And you can plot it if you've got a plotter in your company, or you can just have a look. And it's also a good way for documentation. You can export the UML diagrams and import it into, if you've got the enterprise architect or the visual paradigm or any other UML tooling. And you can also generate ABAP Doc. Uwe, erzählst du später noch was über ABAP Doc? Erzählst du später noch was zu ABAP Doc oder so? Nee. You can generate documentation out of the system, and no, SC18 plus not existing. Okay.
Modify your own. But das ist not ABAP Eclipse.
Bitte?
SC18 plus.
Okay, yeah. Okay, here another thing, UML class diagram. Okay, I will restrict it. Tick, tick, tick. And this because the models get really big and lots of information nobody needs, and for this purpose. And you can execute a plugin, and as you can see, you can save it as XML file, and this XML is an XML standard for interchange for model-driven development, and you can interchange UML diagrams between different UML and development environments. And you can also generate ABAP Doc HTML, and we have to create a new and then yes, allow. Takes a while. It generates an HTML file, and with all the documentation provided in the classes and with all the comments and
using the new ABAP Doc.
Using the new ABAP Doc. And here you can navigate. You can see all the. You see, there's not much documentation in it, but you get the idea. Try it and have a look at SCN. ABAP Doc is with NetWeaver 740 quite powerful, and you can, if you know Java Doc. Any Java developers in here? Java Doc. ABAP Doc is nearly the same. You've got some directives, and you can. If you know Java Doc, then it's easy. So, that's all for the workbench. So, we will leave the workbench. I have just to close because I do not want to interfere. The other one, SITMuc. Okay. I think the last remaining 1.5 minutes will not be enough to start Eclipse. That's different. The SAP GUI is very lightweight because everything is done on the server. Eclipse is here local, and it needs more power. And as you can see, the SAP GUI is much faster being loaded. But this Eclipse environment is very powerful. And who doesn't know Eclipse? Perfect. And since NetWeaver 730, 31, SP4, SP5, SP6, you can connect your Eclipse environment to your AS ABAP backend system and implement like never before, they always say. And I just want to show you the idea. It's everything is similar if you know the workbench. The ABAP code is quite the same. There's no difference. But you've got here more projects, and you've got one environment for all your development systems. you can see I've got connected the ABAP for on HANA Developer Cloud Edition, and here the locale system. And as you can see, it's quite different, but there are some nice features. If you're interested, we can talk about that later. In the workbench, you have to know what kind of table or what kind of program. Here, you only type name, and the artifacts will show up. And that's a nice feature. But we have to start the debugger. I want to talk about debugging, and this will be the last thing I will show. And so we say run as ABAP application. You also have here the ABAP test cockpit or the ABAP unit test. And I just want to show you that debugging is also possible in Eclipse. And you can see the debugger perspective is opening, and it's quite similar of the usage. You've got internal tables and a table viewer. You can see here, you can do the right click and export to file. As you know, you can see, as I told you, the ABAP stack. You see it here in front, and also the variables, and that's the ABAP debugger. And last but not least, one feature I just show you. I just told you about SAT, and the same is possible in Eclipse, but it looks. I've got too much. Ja, der Run as Coverage ist, genau. Nee. I'm searching for the view. Excuse me. It's also nice, a feeder who informs you about dumps in your own artifacts. Window? Show view?
No German or
Other?
yes. Do you know, is a German version of the Eclipse plugin?
Okay.
The German language
Ah, okay.
I always use English.
I only see it in English, but I've seen it at a colleague who's using that in German version. There is one, definitely. And also the Java stuff depends on how you connect the system. If you connect to the English language, then you have English, and all the other stuff and in German is German, and that's what all the other languages.
Okay. That's what I was looking for. I didn't find the tab for the view. This is the SAT in Eclipse. It's a profiler, and you can see the hit list like we did before in SAT, and the call tree, of course. And the timeline is very nice. You can. Oh, it's there's nothing to navigate. You can see the stack, the nested calls, and you can also jump into the code line where this okay, that's all. That's what I wanted to show.
Unfortunately, I have to cut you off.
Yes.
So to keep the schedule, but Martin will come down. So Andrea has time to set up her laptop for the next presentation. Please feel free to ask questions. If you have a question, raise your hand. I come with a microphone because Alex is recording all the tracks. So we have it for providing in, have your YouTube or whatever account. We will have it online. So if you have questions to Martin, please go ahead. And if not, yeah, good. And you can get drinks for the next session.
Thank you. I would like to know if how compiling errors in ABAP in Eclipse work. Do they look the same as they look on a usual machine?
Yes, if you've got any issues in ABAP in Eclipse, you've got a small view down there. I can show you later, and you see it like you see it in the workbench. And the overview of the findings is in Eclipse a bit more intuitive. It's you can see it at once and you can navigate, and it's.
I want to add a thing. If you the new Eclipse ADT checks during the typing already for the syntax checks. If you type a statement, it already checks during the typing.
Sometimes in ST22 you can access the debugger straight away from a short dump, but sometimes you can't. Is there a timeline there or something?
A timeline? I think there must exist a timeline. I do not know by myself, but I found that if the program is being called in background, you've got no possibility to debug. And if it's in dialog, it works, but I think it must be only a couple of hours. But I don't know.
Okay. Another question about the final 4 testing that you had on the classes. How does that determine a production system or not? Is that determined on the SCC4 setup, or?
There's a transaction. I think it's ABAP unit. There's a transaction, and there you configure where you can execute your ABAP unit tests. You have to activate it explicitly in your development stage, and you have to also define the criticality level of your findings. And there is a transaction. Maybe we find it later, and then I can show it.